Let me ask you something. I'm kind of looking down at the screen for a little feedback from everybody. I have it in gallery view. There's 20 pages of participants on my Zoom, so holy cow. Congratulations for being a part of this conference. It's amazing. I'll be looking for a little feedback when I ask this question. Is anyone tired? Anyone worn out? 2020 kick you around a little bit? Yeah, I see some north-south on the head shake there. I'm wore out, man. It was a bad year. Let's just call it what it is. No need to pull punches, right? I went through a lot personally last year. I got divorced. I ended up losing just about all my business income. I speak for a living, so you can imagine that industry kind of dried up for a little bit. It's lots of things. I moved. The pandemic. The mask of oppression, like Bain would say, the mask of oppression, I had that. We're all tired, man. We're all worn out. What a year. But you know what? I never lost hope. I kept a little bit off to the side that I could look at, a light in the darkness, so to speak. Today, I hope I'm going to give you some inspiration and some light to push past this time that we've been in and to really get your mojo back. All right, I'm going to get your mojo. I'm going to take a different angle at this, and I think it's really going to inspire you. All right, so listen, what do we do? What do we do coming off a year like this? Like I call this post-storm. I call this post-storm. All right, there's storms in life. You have before the storm, you have during the storm, and you have post-storm. And we're kind of in the post-storm. Let's call it that. Let's not say we're in the storm anymore. We're post-storm. So we're coming out of it. Well, what do we do? I'm going to share a clip with you here from the Avengers of all movies. I think you'll like it.
Doesn't matter. If he frees Loki or kills him, the Tesseract's lost.
Stark, we need a plan of attack.
I have a plan. Attack.
You know what I want you to pick up in that clip? Have any ideas? Attack. That's right. I see it right away. Came up in the comments. Hey, let's attack, man. The enemy's been at our doorstep, so to speak. The enemy, the pandemic, the oppression, everything going on, the systemic racism in our world. The enemy has come to our doorstep. It's time to attack, man. Let's take the fight to the enemy. Let's get this fire within us that just rises up, and let's go. Now, granted, Captain America was like, dude, we need a plan. But hey, come on. Sometimes you can overwhelm the enemy with aggression. And I'm asking you to be aggressive. All right? Now, listen, this is a Reignite Your Mojo conference, right? We're talking about how to get your fire within yourself. I'm going to tell you something. One of the best ways to gain fire within yourself is not to focus on yourself at all. It's about focusing on others. It's about serving. Listen, I want you to join me in something. At Diligent Plans, we've started a movement, and we're calling it a leadership revival. Leadership revival. We're trying to be a positive influence and we're trying to bring to light the type of leaders that we need nowadays during these dark times. All right, so let me break it down for you. So leadership, by definition, let's call leadership, there's so many definitions of it, but for this instance, let's call it a positive influence. So we're going to call leadership a positive influence. A revival is an improvement in the condition or strength of something. All right, so positive influence, we're going to improve that, and we're going to improve its strength during these times. Would you agree that we need that? Okay, yeah, me too. And then a separate definition of revival, an instance of something becoming popular, active, or important again. So leadership revival, so leadership becoming important and strong and growing in condition. Would you agree during these times we need leaders to rise up? Absolutely. I'm getting a lot of head shakes and a lot of feedback. Definitely. We need leadership, man. We need leadership. We not just in the US, around the world. This was a global pandemic. It affected humanity itself, not just US citizens, right? It's a global pandemic. We need leadership. So we started a movement. Listen, this is grassroots. We're starting from the ground up. This is ground floor. Basically, I just want you to join in and accept the call of leadership on your life. All right, that's all I'm asking. I'm going to go into a little more detail about how to do that. I'm going to give you some ways that you can do that, some actual methods. But I just want you to accept right now the call of leadership. All right, now soon this is going to be a global resource. We might have an international institute in a very short time to where we can provide resources and coaching and community for leaders. But right now we're at the grassroots. This is a revival. All right, so I want you to join in. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, oh, I'm not a leader. I don't have any subordinates in my current role. Hey, you're a leader, trust me. You know why? Because I guarantee throughout your day you interact with somebody. Family, maybe you're back out in the community, maybe you're running into people at the grocery store or doing your errands. Anytime you are around other people, you have the ability to lead them to a better tomorrow. So you do have influence. So don't let yourself be talked out of the fact that you might think that you're not a leader. I guarantee everybody has that potential. All right? So there's a famous quote by Voltaire, the French writer. I love this quote. No snowflake in an avalanche ever felt responsible. No snowflake in an avalanche ever felt responsible. But let me tell you, the macro effect of all the snowflakes in the avalanche creates, in this case, devastation, but in our case, a big change in the world. You're one of the snowflakes, all right? That's not an insult, that's a comment. You're part of the movement if you want to be. Please, you can make a difference. Just little things throughout your day that can make a difference. All right? There's another way to think about it. In the book of Esther in the Bible, a little known book, Esther chapter 4, it talks about, Esther has a choice, whether she can rise up and be a leader or stay quiet. And the verse says, you can keep silent at this time, and basically relief and deliverance for the Jews will come from another source. But who knows whether or not you're in your position for such a time as this? Yeah, I'm going to tell you, I think you're in this position for such a time as this. You're not on this conference by chance. You didn't sign up here by accident. You're not listening to me right now by some random act of the universe. You're here on purpose. And I believe that truly. We're always where we need to be on purpose. This is no different. So what I'm about to say, take this to heart. For some of you, it's going to light the fire within. Right after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, when the U.S. kind of raised their counterattack during World War II, Admiral Yamamoto from the Japanese fleet is rumored to have said, or actually to have written in his diary, I fear we have done nothing more than to wake a sleeping giant and fill him with terrible resolve. All right? I want to fill you with resolve. It's time to fight. Okay? All right. So, how do you fight? What does it mean to be a leader? How are we going to take this influence that you have, the influence in your community, influence at work? What do you actually do as a leader during a revival? What are we looking for? What do we want to bring back to strength and raise and improve the condition of? Well, these concepts are going to seem really simple on the surface, but applying them is a little more difficult. The first one is very easy. It's 2 words. I just want you to show up. I just want you as a leader to show up. Leadership is not an idea. It's not the ivory tower, something that we look at and just kind of, it's not one of those. It's an action. Leadership is an action. What's the best action you can do? Show up. Show up. Here's what I mean. How do you do it? Well, first you got to know when to show up. How do you know when to show up? Well, you got to know your people. You got to know your people. And I don't mean just kind of know their background or their bio or their resume or their CV or whatever. You got to know your people. You got to know them inside and out. There's this idea that there's a work person that comes to work and there's a home person that goes home. And, in the workspace, we're just concerned about this work person. And, the home person, we're afraid to ask questions about that because there's always rules nowadays and privacy and different things. And we kind of get timid and afraid. Let me tell you something. Leadership is not about being afraid. If you're afraid to ask somebody how many kids they have and what sports they're involved in and stuff like that, then, man, what a sad society we've come to grow into, right? Get to know people. Find out what's going on in their home life. Ask them questions, not to interrogate them, not because you're trying to invade their privacy, because you care. You're a leader. You want to know. You want to know what makes them tick. Get to know them. A few years ago, I took a group of leaders from a client's office that I had here in town, here in El Paso, Texas, and I took them to Chick-fil-A. And before I went there, I called in and I talked to one of the managers. I said, hey, I'm bringing this group of leaders. There's going to be about 6 or 7 of us. Would you mind coming out and telling us what makes you guys so effective at Chick-fil-A? Because, everybody, there's no debate here. Everybody loves Chick-fil-A, right? Can I get a nod, a handshake, or a hand raise or something like that? Yeah, everybody loves Chick-fil-A. I see some waves, people chatting in. Yes, Chick-fil-A. Some days I don't even feel like chicken. But I go to Chick-fil-A just because I want to feel better about myself. It's just an amazing environment, right? Chick-fil-A is awesome. So anyways, this manager comes out, spends 2.5 hours with us during the middle of the day, 2.5 hours. And I asked him a ton of questions. We interviewed the heck out of this poor kid, man. But one of the things that he said that will stick with me forever, and it's part of my point, is I'm like, man, how come your people are always so happy? They're always smiling. They're always courteous, and they have great manners with each other and with the guests that come to Chick-fil-A. How do you do that? He told me a few things, but one of them he said is, I know them. I said, what do you mean you know them? I know everything about them. I know if they're married, and if they are, I know their spouse's name. I know if they have kids, and chances are I know their kids' names. I know their ages. I know what sports they're involved in. If they have a dog named Winston, I know all about Winston. If they have hobbies, I know those. So I'm like, so let me get this straight. Now, this is something we practiced in the Army. But I said, out in the corporate world, for-profit company, right? Let's not mix words here. It's for-profit. You know your people that much? I said, yeah, absolutely. That's what Chick-fil-A taught us to do. And honestly, I can't imagine leading any other way. All right, so the first way to show up is, first of all, you got to get to know people. That way you'll know when to show up. You'll know what milestones to look for, birthdays, anniversaries, different things in someone's life. There's a guy on my team, one of my speakers, who lives in another state. He's a little older than me. Him and I graduated West Point, but he graduated before me, I think in the early 90s. And every year in August, he remembers a day when one of his soldiers was killed in combat. I put it on my calendar every year. I don't remember the date. That's why I use technology, because I'll forget those things. But it's not cheating. Just use your dang calendar. So anyways, I put this thing that pops up on my phone called John. And then I have a little blurb in the comments, on the reminder that pops up about what happened. So either I call him or text him that day and just say, John, I'm thinking about you. I know you lost your soldier today, and I know this hits you every year. I'm here if you want to talk. I show up. I show up for John because I know John, and I've taken the time to get some details about his life into my memory, which is failing, so I put it in my phone. No, but I know John is what I'm saying, and I've used technology as a tool to help me to remember those things. But I took the effort to get to know him. All right, so I want you to really internalize this. Get to know your people. And if HR gives you a hard time and says, you can't ask them those questions, hey, man, you want to make an omelet, sometimes you got to break some eggs. Do it with the right heart, the heart to get to know somebody because you care about them and you want to lead them properly by knowing the whole person. And push the boundaries a little bit. Not all the HR people are probably pulling their hair out right now. What is this guy telling them to, you know what I'm saying. Have the right heart, get to know people, make people your business. Make them your business. And I guarantee you cannot go wrong. I'm gonna really drive home this point with another story. So in the Army, we had to shine our boots. I was in the Army when it was hard. The new guys don't have to shine their boots anymore, guys and gals, all right, because they have non-shineable boots. We had the black boots. Felicia knows what I'm talking about. We had the black boots that you had to shine with polish and spit shine with a rag and do all that stuff, and they had to look like glass, literally like a mirror. And we would be standing at attention, in a formation, and people would come down and look at our haircuts and look at our uniform, and they would eventually stop at our boots. When they're in front of us, they would look at the tip, the toe of our boots, and they'd say either good job or what the heck, man, did you shine that with a Hershey bar? They would give us some feedback. That's one thing, but when they got past us, they went down this row of soldiers. When they went past us, they would come behind us, and they would kind of be to the side, and they would look at the behind of our uniform, the backside of our uniform, our haircut, different things. The last thing they would look at is the back of our boots, And man, if you didn't shine that whole boot, they would get up in your ear. And they'd say, "Hey, Yeagle, did you buy your whole boot?" And we'd be like, "Did you buy your whole boot? What kind of question?" Yes, sir, I bought the whole boot. Why didn't you shine the whole boot? The backside of your boot looks like crap. And man, you know what? People are the same way. If you only know the toe and you don't know the tail, then you don't know the whole boot. You don't know the whole person. So you have signed up to lead the whole person. Get to know the entire person. All right? You bought the whole boot. Shine the whole thing. Lead the whole person. Okay. All right, that's the first thing. Next thing to show up. All right, so that's like deliberately getting to know your people. All right, that's kind of more planned. You're going to actually be deliberate with your action. You're going to get to know them and really dive deep into their life. Now, next thing is more impromptu. You got to pay uber attention to things. We live in a society that's this. We're always looking down at our dang phones, man. We miss things. That's one of the biggest pet peeves I have with my kids. I have a 7 and a 9-year-old and two other older ones, but especially the 7 and 9-year-old. They always walk and look at their phones. I'm like, girl, you're gonna walk out into traffic someday, and what a tragedy that's gonna be. Girl dies looking at her iPhone. I'm like, come on. So that's a big pet peeve of mine. You gotta unplug a little bit. Be aware about what's going on. Listen to this verse from Proverbs in the Bible. Any enterprise is built by wise planning, becomes strong through common sense, and profits wonderfully, listen, by keeping abreast of the facts. Any enterprise becomes strong by keeping abreast of the facts. Leadership is an enterprise. And if you're missing the facts because you're buried in your phone or your email, or you're just not paying attention, you're unplugged, you're going to miss something. You won't be abreast of the facts. So therefore, your leadership enterprise cannot thrive. All right, so I want you to pay attention. Put stuff away. It can wait. Put down the phones. Engage with people. You don't realize how much people are hurting sometimes. I don't always realize. I taught a guy one time during a 2-day seminar. Taught him for the whole 2 days. The whole time, there was 5 of them in the class. The whole time he was smiling, happy the whole time, smiling, engaging, happy. At the end of this 2-day seminar, so this is about 16 hours into this, everybody packed up and left, and I was cleaning up the room. That guy came up to me and he said, "Hey, can I talk to you?" And I said, "Absolutely, have a seat." As soon as he sat down and as soon as I sat down across from him, tears just started running down his eyes. He was going through something horrible. And all he wanted was somebody to listen to him. You're at the store. I know we got these stinking masks on and stuff like that nowadays, but you're at the store, in an elevator, maybe. I don't know if we're even allowed to do that anymore, but whatever. You're next to somebody. You're out somewhere, and "Hey, how you doing? How has it been, last year and this year?" Ask them questions. Man, you know what? Some people just want somebody to listen to them for a little bit. Or you give them a compliment. hey, that's a really cool design you got on your mask or whatever. Or it matches your outfit. I don't know what you say to people with the mask on and all that, but give them a compliment. Have it sincere. It opens up dialogue. We aren't meant to walk around with our head down and not engage with people. It's kind of sad. So be engaged. Get to know people. You never know what's going to open up. I'll tell you a quick story. So a few years ago, actually it was more than a few, it was more like 10 or 11 years ago, maybe 12, I was going for a jog. I used to live in the Upper Valley on the west side of El Paso, and I was going for a jog, and I came out of my neighborhood, and I'm not a jogger, so this was a very slow jog. But anyways, I come out of my neighborhood, and if I turn left on Country Club, I can cross the Rio Grande, right? So I come out of my neighborhood, I turn left, I'm getting ready to cross the Rio Grande, but there's construction going on the bridge, and there's someone holding a sign there. And, it's a slow stop sign, right? It's slow on one side, stop on the other. And I was looking, because I'm aware, right? I was looking, and I'm like, oh, hey, that guy's got it's a New York Giants cap, New York Giants football team. And I was like, man, it's not the Steelers, which is the number one team in football, but at least it's not the Cowboys. All right, so I was like, I'm going to go talk to this guy. I'm from Pennsylvania. I went to school in New York. He's a Giants fan. Oh, I just lost a lot of people. I see some boos. Be nice. Come on now. You guys don't have a lot to talk about, Cowboy fans. Anyways, I saw the Giants hat and I walk out. And by the way, just so you know, you don't have to be very sophisticated to start conversations with people. Most of my conversations start with dumb questions. Like I walk up to a dude and I said, so are you a Giants fan? No kidding, he's wearing a freaking Giants cap. Of course he's a Giants fan, but that's how I start most of my conversations. And guess what? I found out that he's working that job part-time at the time. He's putting himself through an engineering degree at UTEP. Engineering's tough, man. I almost failed out of West Point taking engineering classes. So he's putting himself through an engineering degree, holding a sign during the day of, construction. He's also, at the time, he had 2 young kids that were about the same age as my kids. I ended up walking away with that dude's cell phone number, and we stayed in touch for a long time. We've fallen off in recent years, but we stayed in touch, and kind of encouraged each other and talked to each other. All started because I was aware of that guy in my space. Anybody comes within 20 feet of you, you should at least see him. Man, I was an MP in the Army, military police. Anybody comes within my space, I'm first going to check them out to make sure they're not a threat. Then secondly, I'm going to make sure that, maybe there's something I want to talk to them about because I love people. I want to engage with them. All right, so I'm aware. So 2 things. When do you show up for people? Well, first of all, you're deliberate. You get to know them, the people in your space. Secondly, you're uber aware. You pay uber attention to things so you don't miss opportunities that maybe God puts right in front of you. Okay? All right, the next one. Next part of this is how do you show up? How do you show up? Well, because you know people, you act on milestones that you already know about them. You show up for things, different events in their life. You call them on their anniversary, you call them on their birthday. Maybe something tragic happened and, you can tell they're struggling. You know them so well that you can tell when they show up one day and their face just doesn't look the same. Does anybody ever show up to work and your face looks different because something happened at the house? Yeah, man, you got to be in tune with that. Hey, Joe. Man, dude, you just don't look yourself today. You were very quiet in the meeting. You kind of have this look about you. Can I talk to you? Is there anything you'd like to share with me? Can I help in any way? Man, just the question. And they may say, no, I'm okay, which is cool. But at least ask. If you don't ask, then maybe they might carry that burden all day, man. They have no outlet for it. All right, leaders show up. Leaders show up. A couple weeks ago, unfortunately, in a tragic event, I lost one of my classmates from West Point. I'm 44. He was about my age, so gone way too soon, as you can imagine. This guy was the most gregarious guy I've ever met. Just loved people. I'll never forget somebody said at his eulogy, there's probably 15 people in this room that call him their best friend. I mean, he was just that type of guy. Now, I knew him at West Point, but I wasn't in his inner circle. I was maybe 1 or 2 removed. I might have had a class with him or something. I just knew who he was just because he was such a gregarious, positive, optimistic guy. Well, 2 of my friends, actually 2 speakers that I work with that are on my team, and they're also great friends of mine. They knew him really well. They were in his inner circle really well, like extremely close. One of the best friends. You know what I did? I got a flight and I went out to Austin, and I did it first to pay respects to him and his family, but almost just equally as important to me was to be there for my friends. So I knew they were going to need a shoulder to cry on. I knew they were going to need to have some encouragement because one of them was actually eulogizing our friend who passed. So I showed up. You know, with young kids, 7 to 9, the young ones, it's hard to leave during the middle of the week, especially with pickups from school and different things like that. It costs some money, you know, things like that, and it pulled me out of the loop. But I did it. I showed up, and boy, I'm glad I did because I was able to be there for them. So those are examples. You just gotta do it, man. Just show up. It's gonna cost you sometimes. It's gonna be a sacrifice. But man, I wish leadership. I wish leadership was easy, but it's not. Doesn't mean you're not called to do it. Okay. All right. So first thing I want you to do, very simple: show up. Know when, and then just do it. Take some action. All right. How am I doing on time here? Okay. Let me. All right, I'm gonna squeeze one in. Okay, I was gonna skip this based on time, but I think you need to hear it. Part of this leadership revival movement, I want you to be a maverick. Now, all the supervisors that are listening in are probably like, "Oh my God, this guy's telling my team to be a maverick." You know, the ones that sponsored a team that are on the call, you're the supervisor. You got 10 team members on this call. You're probably like, "What are you telling them to do?" Just hear me out, okay? Since when is fear and being afraid part of leadership? So we have a bunch of timid leaders nowadays. Where the heck are all the cowboys and cowgirls? Have you noticed that? Nobody takes chances anymore. We're freaking conformists, and we're afraid to ruffle feathers and stir the pot and ask questions. Leadership wasn't meant to be that way. It's not meant to be conservative. I'm just tired of the conformity and the yes people. You know, saying yes to everything without even questioning it. We are not meant to be sheep, man. We're meant to be leaders. All of us have that potential. Let me tell you the definition of a maverick. You ready? Someone who refuses to play by the rules. He or she isn't scared to cross the line of conformity, but their unorthodox tactics get results. All right, now listen. I am not asking you to stir the pot just to watch things burn. You know, the Bible talks about strife. You don't deal with strife. You don't bring that to an organization. Those are rebels. Difference between rebels and mavericks. Rebels just like to watch the match burn. They create chaos and disorganization and all these things because they love the destruction. All right? Don't be a rebel. You're welcome, supervisors. Don't be a rebel. Be a maverick. Mavericks question things because they have a heart for the organization. They question things so you can arrive at an optimal way of doing things, or an optimal solution to a problem, or just an optimal way of being. They question things. They do it with the heart for improvement. That's what I'm talking about. Be that type of maverick, all right? Or be that type of person. Be a maverick, not a rebel. Don't stir up chaos, man. Don't gossip. Don't do all the things that go with strife and chaos and all that. That's nonsense, man. If you're engaging in that, please stop. But be a maverick. Be a maverick. All right? Don't go looking for conflict. Just be aware of what's going on. And if there's room to question something, question it with the right heart. All right? Now listen, if you're going to be a maverick, and I've been one for most of my life, I need you to accept something. Okay, you ready? Some people aren't going to like you. They're not going to like you. All right? I wish leadership was a popularity contest, but it is sadly not. All right? So by being a maverick, the people that just want to kind of just go and exist in your organization and not question anything, they're going to look at you like, oh, he's asking another question again, or why'd she bring that up? Oh my God. You know, they're not going to like you. Who cares? You don't answer to them. Right? Don't worry about it. If you go through life trying to keep everybody happy, you know you're going to keep happy? No one, including yourself. All right, so question, just realize some people aren't going to like you. You got to toughen up, man. This is not easy. Being a Maverick's not easy. But let me tell you something. Only dead fish go with the flow. I'm going to say that again. Only dead fish go with the flow. If you're always going with the flow, you're probably missing an opportunity to impact your organization or to lead your team better. One of my speakers, he's a 3-time state champion basketball coach. Also was a Division I basketball player and everything else. Really good guy, great leader. So he's won all these championships, set a ton of records at the school he was coaching. Well, guess what? He was at an event with kids, and one of the administrators from the school showed up with alcohol on his breath. You know, my buddy had a choice. Do I let it go? Do I conform to just not questioning things, or do I speak up? Well, just by me telling the story, you probably know what he did. He spoke up. And guess what? He got fired. Not the administrator, my buddy, who did the right thing, got let go. Yeah, so I'm telling you, it ain't popular sometimes being a leader. But let me tell you something. The amount of suck, all right, listen to me, the amount of suck in true leadership does not diminish the value of its calling. That's one of my favorite sayings. The amount of suck in true leadership does not diminish the value of the calling, of its calling. You are called to be a leader, meaning it's going to be bad at times. It's depleting. I mean, if you're not crying at 3 a.m. in the shower sometimes, and dry heaving other times because of the pressures of leadership, then maybe you're not fully engaged in it. It's not fun, or it's not easy. I wish I could tell you it was, but man, the calling. If that's on your heart, it's a high calling. Okay. All right, moving on. Just checking on time here. 10 minutes left. Uh-oh. Man, Lacey's on me. All right. I'm moving, Lacey. I'm moving. Okay. I'm going to make 2 more points. I'm going to do them very quickly because I think you need to hear them. Leadership ain't about you. Ain't about you. It's about the people you lead. I'm going to show you a real quick clip here, another clip from Batman Begins, the end of Batman Begins with Christian Bale.
I never said thank you. And you'll never have to.
All right, listen. If you're in it for the thank yous, you ain't in it for the right reasons. You should never expect that. You might lead for an entire lifetime and never get the acknowledgement you deserve. Hell, the people that you raise up that go on to do big things and maybe even become famous someday, they might not even acknowledge you. It's not what it's about. It's not what it's about. Stop believing the Hollywood nonsense that at the end of the journey, you're going to be standing on a hill somewhere, standing all stoically, looking around, accepting applause and glory and awards and all that. That's nonsense. That's Hollywood. I know I'm showing some Hollywood clips, but I mean, in reality, a lot of their stuff's crap, man. That's not how leadership is. It's just not. It's not about you. It just ain't about you. You're there to influence your team, to take care of your team. And by the way, your team is not the shareholders. It's not the board of directors. It's not your boss. I mean, don't be an idiot and get fired, but you know what I'm saying. And it's not your ego. If you're serving any of those things above the people that are in your charge, that you're in charge of leading, you got your priorities wrong. All right, so take care of your people, man. Leadership is not comfortable. All right, so what do you do? All right, that was a little downer here. I'm just being straight with you. And the last point, I want you to be a light. All right? How do you be part of this leadership revival? I want you to be a light in the world. You know, the Bible tells us that we are the light of the world. We, people, we are the light of the world. I want you to go out and be a light. What does light do? Light gives off. Light gives off. Doesn't absorb, doesn't take, doesn't stockpile, doesn't hoard, gives off. It takes brightness to the darkness. It brightens things up. So I want you to go out and be a light. I want you to go out and remember a quote by William James, a psychologist. The greatest use of life is to spend it on something that will outlast it. The greatest use of life is to spend it on something that will outlast. What better something could you spend it on than your people? The people that you have influence over, the people in your charge. Man, since my little ones have been probably kindergarten age, I would always kneel down to their level before school as I was dropping them off, or I'd pick them up. You know, the Disney way says you should always get to the level of a kid and look them in the eye. And so, you know, I learned that. And so I always would look them in the eye, both of them, and I'd say, every day, I still do it to this day. They're 9 and 7, and they still allow me to do it. Maybe when they're preteens, it might be a little iffy, but I'm still going to say it. Anyways, this is what I tell them. I said, remember your leaders. Remember your leaders who, one, have compassion. The world's hurting. Who are we to judge what other people are going through? Okay, first of all, have compassion. So I said, you are leaders who have compassion. 2, I say, who are generous. Who are generous. The Bible says the life of the generous gets larger and larger. The life of the stingy gets smaller and smaller. Man, you don't have a lot of money to give? Give your time. Give your ear. Give something, but give. You cannot go wrong by giving. Give. So leaders who are compassionate, who are generous. And lastly, you are a leader who serves others. You're a leader who serves others. I got one last clip for you. It's from the movie Black Hawk Down that depicts the Battle of Mogadishu that happened in 1993. We had some helicopters go down as we were trying to extract a warlord in Mogadishu. And there's a helicopter on the ground, Super 6-4, that was piloted by Mike Durant. Up in the air are 2 Delta Force snipers. Delta Force, top of the food chain, man, just like SEALs. All right, top of the food chain. 2 snipers, crowds in the hundreds. They're looking down on the ground, seeing the down pilot, and they say, put us on the ground. Put us on the ground. There's 2 of them. Hundreds of people, insurgents, 2 snipers. Minimal weapons, minimal ammo. This is the conversation they have. This is very well depicted by Hollywood.
There's a crowd advancing 6-7 blocks from the crash. Shagart and Gordon again request permission to secure until convoy arrives. Over.
General, crowds in the hundreds now. From where they are, they can see things clearer than any of us. They know what they're asking.
Let me talk to him.
This is Garrison. I want to make sure that y'all understand what you're asking for, so say it out loud and clear.
We're asking to go in and set up a perimeter until ground support arrives.
And you realize that I cannot tell you when that might be. It could take quite a while.
Roger that. And you still want to go in there?
Yes, sir.
Hello, Harold?
Yes, General.
It's your call.
Roger that. Govina, put him in.
Okay. They went on to die that day. They went on to die. They were overrun by the insurgents. Mike Durant, the pilot, lived. He was kept as a captive for a little while and then released. He's alive, walking the earth today, thanks to those 2 heroes who posthumously won the Medal of Honor. Now that's service. Now I'm not asking you to go out and lay down sniper fire for your buddy that's pinned down somewhere. I mean, that might not happen ever in your life, and it probably won't. It didn't happen for me, and I served in the Army. But I'm asking you to go out and sacrifice when all you want to do is go home. I just want to get home. What a long day. I got to stop and get milk. I don't want to talk to anybody. But I'm asking you to have the courage and the drive to care so much about people that woman has a tissue and she's crying next to you in the grocery line. I want you to ask her how she's doing, if there's anything you can do to help. I want you to serve people. It can be little. It doesn't have to be big acts like this that you saw in the movie. Okay? I just want you to serve. Choose every day to serve. Listen, I'm going to end with this. 21 days ago, I had a hip replacement, my left hip. That was my 6th joint surgery. I'm 44 years old. I'll take credit for 2 of those because I was riding an ATV and I had an accident. So let's say 4 joint surgeries that I say are directly related to my military service. So, a couple weeks ago after my surgery, I'm laying in bed thinking, feeling sorry for myself. I have an artificial hip. I'm 44. And I told myself I'd do it again. I'd do it again. I joined the military knowing that I was going to have eventually 4 surgeries. I'd do it again to serve others. And I want you to make those choices. I want you to do it no matter what the cost. Let this fire rise up within you. If you want to get your mojo back, focus on those people around you. The ones that you have direct leadership over, the ones that you might just bump into on the street. You want to get your fire back, man? You serve others. You serve others. All right, that's how you get your mojo back. Join the leadership revival. All right, show up, be a maverick, know that it ain't about you, and be a light in the world. Thank you. You guys have been great. God bless you. Nothing but bright futures ahead. I believe it, and I want you to also. I believe in you. Thank you.